to StarrSoap's channel. How are you today? I'm doing good. My name's CrystalStarr, in case you didn't know me. I mean, have you been living under a rock? I'm the owner and the creator here at StarrSoaps, and today I'm going to be creating a really cool sculpted soap. That's right, what does the fox soap? A friend of mine, her little girl goes to a kind of vision of cubs and their logo is a fox, and she really wants a soap that looks like a fox's face, like a little red, orangey red fox. We actually don't have them here in New Zealand. We don't have foxes in New Zealand, as far as I know. If I'm wrong and you know of foxes in New Zealand, leave a comment below. Teach me something. Because hey, you got to learn something new every day, apparently. Keep the old ticker working. So, yes, without further ado and waffle, come along with me and watch as I sculpt a fox face in my soap. I know, right? Come along with me. I'll show you how to make it. Squeak! Okay, so first things first, we're going to add our cooled lye water to our cooled oils and never the other way around. I'm only making a small batch here because I'm just making a single loaf of fox soap. Please don't mind the little black mark on my finger there. It's simply because I was lighting the fire earlier. It is really cold. We're having these strange cold snaps all the way into October, which that's not so normal for us here in New Zealand. It's usually warming up by now, so that's interesting. We just got a whole new layer of snow on the mountain. Totally strange. Alright, so now we're adding the two together. We're making sure that we blend the lye water and the cooled oils together. And I've got some goat's milk in there, which is why there is a level of sugar, which has caused my mix to turn a caramel brown. But that's okay, I'm going to be colouring it and you wouldn't notice that anyway. The final soap always comes out opaque and whitish. Not like pure bright white, like you get when you add the titanium dioxide, but a natural sort of a white, and I don't mind that at all. So I'm adding a whole bunch of essential oils here. I've got a chamomile essential oil and a cinnamon essential oil, and I'm adding these for a couple of reasons. One, because I just had these little tiny bottles and needed to use them up. And two, because I want to try to scent this as an orange clove soap. I thought that really worked well with the orange red theme with the fox. And I don't have an orange and clove fragrance, but I do have some orange fragrance. And I decided to not use the orange fragrance, but to go ahead and use my orange essential oil. So that makes this a 100% essential oil soap. I did notice that it tended to ash quite a lot, and it did some strange things when it was ashing. It seemed to at first ash in little tiny specks all over the soap, and then that grew until there was a fine layer of ash covering the soap completely, and it was not the type of soap that I could wash because I had painted the eyes on by that stage. So it was a little bit of a shame, but I just wrapped them up as they were. And me and my friend joked that they sort of looked a little bit like Arctic foxes with a little dusting of snow on them. And of course, as soon as you go to wash with them, that will wash off and you will reveal the beautiful bright colour underneath. So yeah, I'm kind of wanting to try doing some cold process, oven process, and trying to gel my soaps, because I'm really getting annoyed at the amount of ash that my soaps will end up forming, and then the amount of process I have to go through to get that off before I can wrap them, whether that's planing and beveling or steaming or washing. I've jolly tried all the methods, you name it, I've tried it. So yeah, apart from gelling my soap, because I tend to just always soap at room temperature and leave my soap to saponify on its own rather than trying to speed that up. So that's something I'm going to start playing with. I'm excited to start playing with that. If you're somebody who does it, I do have a question for you. If you could answer me in the comments section, that would be superb. I'm wondering, does it end up making your oven smell like the different fragrances and different soaps that you've put in there? I only have the one oven and it's for me and my family and we cook our meals in it, so I don't particularly want to add soap into that oven, and that's been why I have not done it up to this point. So do let me know your experiences below. Perhaps I should start looking at a cheap old oven to pop out in the shed, and that could be my soap oven. Just let me know. I know for a fact that Terry Lynn from Sunny California Soaps, she uses her regular oven and gels her soaps, and I don't think she's had any problems. I don't think so anyway. So yes, do let me know below if you've had any experience in this. I'm now splitting my soap batter out into 3 sections. One is just the plain soap. One has some titanium dioxide that has been dispersed in water. And the other has some mica that has been blended in olive oil and then blended into the soap. And I now have my orangey red colour. That's the little cup there that you can see. That's what I've blended up to try to make what I think is the right colour for these foxes. It's a mixture of oxide and mica, so that's why it might look a little bit odd in there, because we've got some water for the oxide and some oil for the mica. So I'm now just going to go ahead and mix that and try to achieve the right shade of reddy brown that I'm looking for. So I ended up adding more pink mica, as you saw, and it sort of just disappeared into that orangey soap, but that's okay. Now I'm pouring in the very first layer, the brown layer, and I'm going to come back once it is thick enough to try and carve out the first part of my fox face design. And I'm simply using a little bit of corrugated plastic that I've cut into a triangle shape that's going to be carving it out. And I've made a few of these for the different stages of the face. And this fox face was actually on par, like I would say it was a simple design like my mountain design. I've seen people do these carved soaps where they carve out really intricate things. I think this is more on the simple end of the scale, but I did use essential oils and they kept my soap very fluid. So this was a very time-consuming project, and I did find myself getting quite frustrated. I thought maybe this is another area where once I've learned how to gel my soaps and how to do that a lot, once I've done it a few times and I feel confident with it, that I could perhaps gel each layer, and that would speed up this process, and I would be able to carve out the next one, then pour in the next one, then gel it. And again, I'm not sure if that would work. I don't know if the layers would connect and stay together, or if when I went to cut the final soap they might all separate and fall apart. That would be a real shame. So I'm not too sure about that, but I really was frustrated being at the mercy of the soap. I was coming back and checking it every 20 minutes and it still wasn't getting hard enough, and I was telling my husband, I'm like, oh, this is really dumb, this is really annoying. I much prefer the soaps where I just pour it all in the mould and walk away. But anyhow, so I have left this and I've come back again, and now I think we're at about the stage where I can carve it. As you can see, it is still quite fluid, but in my frustration, I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm just going to go ahead and carve it out. And then I'll be adding the white, and then of course I'll have to go away and wait again for the white to set up before I can come and carve that. And then I'll be able to add the orangey brown. So yes, I mixed all this soap up at once. But no, I think in the future it might be smarter to split it and make several small batches. This soap stayed fluid, so I was able to come back and do it and like leave the soaps just sitting in the jug, and they stayed fluid, thank goodness. But you could really be setting yourself up for disaster when you're having to wait for sort of almost an hour for each layer to set, but you're also trying to keep the soap in the jug fluid to be able to pour the next layer. Like, it's really quite a tricky project. So again, if any of you are quite good at doing these sculpted soaps and you have any advice for me, please do leave it below. I really appreciate it. I've learned so much from you guys. I feel like I have easily learned equal the amount of stuff from you as you've learned from me. It's definitely a two-way street, so thank you. Yes, they do. I'm being crazy, and you know that lately. Well, my heart's been breaking, and I don't know just what I'm doing. 'Cause I was really flippin' spewing. That white soap carved out much more easily. It had firmed up. Unfortunately, you can see that my tool that I'm using, that I just cut out of corrugated plastic, it's not the best. It seems like that triangle's getting wider and wider as it gets to the other end, and that's not ideal. But I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm really fed up at this stage, so I'm not gonna try and change it or do anything. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm like, that'll do, that'll do. So now I've mixed up a little bit of melt and pour, and my melt and pour I have coloured with some black magic mica, and that black part is going to make the nose. It'll be the little tiny black nose of our fox, and then I'll be able to go ahead and pour in the brown, which will be the rest of his face, his fur, if you will. So again, thanks to the miracle of editing, we're able to jump forward. I've now got the melt and pour ready, and I'm going to pour that in. Now this was tricky. I really wanted to just pour a thin layer, and it ended up sort of being a lot thicker than I necessarily planned, but I do love how it looks in the end. It does look really cool in the final soap, so, you know. So there's my little melt and pour nose, and then I'll be able to come back and pour, and I don't have to wait obviously for this because melt and pour sets up so fast, which is brilliant. So here is my brown soap, and look how fluid it still is, guys. That is incredible. We're talking soap magic right there. I'm really amazed that it stayed so runny and so fluid throughout all of that waiting time for the dark brown layer and the white layer to set up enough to carve them. But boy, oh boy, am I stoked to be finished and pouring this in now. And I say finished, but I'm not finished, guys. There's more to do. So what I didn't mention to you and what you have not seen is I previously made some ears for this soap. All I did was I took the same mold that you're looking at right now. I tilted it on the side using some tea towels to hold it on the side, and I poured white cold processed soap into one and into another to create a triangle log that will create the white ears of my fox. What I didn't necessarily think about is how thin my mold is. Those of you that are not familiar, you might have heard of the tall and skinny mold. My mold is skinny, but it is not tall. So if you've ever worked with that skinny mold, then you know just how small the space is. I'm trying to top it with a little bit of red eco glitter, but my little puffer bottle hadn't arrived yet at this stage. So I tried to blow it to spread it out. That didn't really work either. But don't worry, I'm going to add some more of that beautiful red eco glitter at the end. I have waited for it to firm up so that I can put my ears on, but I've waited too long and it's gotten too firm. But here are the ears I talked about. I've added a little bit of red soap to one side and tried to paint it with mica on the other side, but as I try to force them onto the soap, I do unfortunately rub a lot of that off. And I did break one, and this was really tricky. The ears were very tricky. So what I ended up doing is I made up more soap, and I came back and I painted all up the sides of each ear. And then when I cut the soap into bars, I came back again and painted with more orangey red soap onto each of the foxes, and used that soap sort of like glue to hold those ears on so they wouldn't fall off the first time you need to use the soap. I'm using my little spoon here to try and scoop up some of the hard soap and create a bit of a wall on either side of the ears and sort of try to hold them in place. This isn't exactly how I wanted it to look, and I think in the future I would just make a bunch of sets of ears rather than doing the logs. Does that make sense? So there is another video on YouTube of a lovely lady making a fox soap, and she just made a bunch of individual ears and placed them on each soap. So I think I would do that in the future, but I really like how these look. So as you can see here, I've got more wet soap, and the soap is wet right now as I film this, and I've used that to sort of speckle all over the soap and hold those ears in, but also cover them in fur so that the white part looks like the inside of the ear, and then the rest is sort of the fur all on the outside. And I think they turned out super cute. You can see the little black nose. You can see the little white part of his face. I think I would have made that white part smaller in the future, so I think it's a little bit too thick there. But that's cool. This is all learning. This is my first time ever making this. And now we're going to jump forward to them sitting in the curing rack, and I've cleaned up the front of those white parts of those ears even more, so you can really see how they pop. And I was just so happy with them right now. I would have given anything to be able to wrap them right now. Just put the eyes on and then wrap them up. But I had to let them cure for their full curing time. So that was when that silly naughty ash happened that I told you about before. So disappointing. But my friend absolutely loves them. Each of them have a little bit of an exfoliating feel, ever so slightly exfoliating, due to the little bits of kawakawa leaf that I had in the soap that I painted and speckled them with. They all have a dusting of red eco glitter down the back of each one, which looks really cool, and that fur continues on down the back. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of these photos that I took before I actually painted the eyes on, and then we'll jump to after I painted the eyes on. The photos in the video don't do them justice. They were super adorable. I felt like I had created little people almost, like my little dudes, and I would go out there and check on them in the soap room. And I tried to give them all slightly different eyes so that they didn't look exactly the same. I really, really love them. And when I went to shrink wrap them, they did fit down the shrink wrap tube okay. So you can see here what it looks like with the label on, and once I've shrink wrapped it. And of course the front, and you can see that Ash. He does look a little bit like he's dusted with some snow. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I really enjoyed bringing this video to you, and I hope to be able to do more sculpted soaps in the future. If you're not already and you'd like to be, hit that subscribe button, become a member of the StarrSoaps family, and feel the soapy love. Bye guys!